Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Friday, March 20th, 2026, TGIF, and happy first day of spring. It is the spring equinox. I'm so glad to be back with you here on You Are Free TV. I'll jump right in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I say thank you to everyone supporting the channel, supporting monthly. You make it happen. Absolutely. So grateful. And thank you, Kathy, for the donation. I'm so appreciated, and always the kind words that go along. So here we go. We're going to jump in here with the news today, and I'm just going to start with kind of a commentary on the ongoing hair on fire about Iran and how people are bifurcating in a dangerous way in the supporting America First movement in this country, and how it's all being orchestrated to make that happen, and how we need to get over that, basically remove ourselves from that kind of emotional response. Partially it is a suicidal empathy. And the other part is just being uninformed, I believe, of history and the bigger picture of what the Trump administration is doing to dismantle, again, the city of London, Atlantis' empire, the Cartel Babylon, as I call it on this channel, the Bankster elites' globalist control and efforts to basically destroy the West, destroy Christendom as it exists, in all of the Western countries in Europe, the UK, Ireland, the United States, as the massive cash cow, okay, for the elites for over 50 years plus, and how that was all designed by the Pilgrim Society and the Rothschild banking elite, but basically underneath the trillionaires of the royals, etc. And so what we're having now is massive infighting. This really kicked off huge, of course, with the murder of Charlie Kirk. And since then, there's just been a no holds barred kind of accusations back and forth, and everybody is losing the plot when it comes to what was the real mission, which is, of course, saving America and, of course, the West from a globalist takeover that, of course, the people of Europe, etc., are suffering under, but the United States hugely and heavily. We are the country that is $37 trillion in debt. Okay, there is no other country like that. Plus, we're the biggest producers, the biggest military. We are the people who are the engine of the world when it comes to what the royals, the Cartel Babylon, has relied on and sucked the life out of with the planned demolition of this country. And what Trump is doing here in Iran is to reverse that. And people, I'll just put this in here now, that people, I think almost everyone alive at this time on the planet has been, you can talk about the boomers, you can talk about whatever, the generation ahead of me, that they, they're the ones destroying the world, all this baloney, okay? All of us, pretty much alive now on the planet, have been massively psyoped and socially engineered in the United States. Even if you look at the boomers, you're talking about children of maybe the late 40s, but really the 50s and 60s, etc., that are, that grew up in the 60s and the 70s, who went through the whole massive socially engineered, the flower power revolution, the drug society, the all the movements that came upon with that age of Aquarius stuff, and they're all the ones that a lot of them, turned and became neocons. A lot of them came from wealthy families and decided to make tons of money in the new economy. All of this basically comes down to this suicidal empathy. And it is this new world order coming out after World War II absolutely planned and executed by the Pilgrim Society, the Fabians, out of the city of London, used and created the OSS with Dulles, etc., creating this gladio style infiltration of inserting communism everywhere, and including into our spirituality, the takeover of Christianity by the leftist regimes, etc. And what came out of it was that we're supposed to believe that keeping the peace is the way that we ensure that there is goodness happening in the world, and that the USA, especially right now under Trump, and this taking out of the Shiite regime in Iran is somehow opposed to this keeping the peace of the globe, when exactly it is the opposite. When the peace in Iran situation can't be got until the Shiite regime is removed. And it might not be the entire removal of the Shiite regime, but it will be the removal of the City of London's control over it. And the IRGC, in the last 10 years, bigly, but before that with Barack Obama, as I said in my last video, where Trump was so clear in saying to the media, remember when Barack Obama emptied out all the banks of Maryland and Virginia and DC, all the cash to deliver it all to the IRGC in Iran, plus the drone technology, etc. This was, of course, with the Muslim Brotherhood, the attempt to bolster up and to plan the invasions of the of Europe. That was an aside, but basically to really empower the IRGC to become the new oligarchs of Iran. And they were able then to gain so much power and control that then in the subsequent years, they used that just as oligarchs in Ukraine, in post USSR Russia, the oligarchs of Russia, and you would say the deep state billionaires of the USA, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, whenever there becomes billionaires, they combine with the elite. You had Henry Kissinger creating the World Economic Forum. You have all of these organizations that all work together to plunder and steal the countries of the world, but especially the United States, and our technology and treasure, and of course, the U.S. You have the people who run and control the patents and the inventions of the world is run out of Geneva, Switzerland. Okay, it is the situation where everything was to be stolen for globalism and what is a, um, a financial coup on the world with a surveillance state they plan through technology and technocracy, and to absolutely decimate and destroy nation states. And so that's a long way of saying that Iran has been the proxy of the City of London ever since really the 1920s is when it started. And you have Muslim Brotherhood created then, which was the people of the Muslim Brotherhood were trained by the Stalin and Leninist forces there in Russia to become basically a communist regime and to spread communism. And when they're done with communism, the extremist religion of Islam then does away with the communists and takes over as the extremist Sharia law crazy town that we know that is going on. We saw in Iran in yesterday executed 4 people who were protesters in Iran. One of them was on the national wrestling team. He was 19 years old, and he was a champion wrestler executed for protesting the Khamenei regime. And this will continue and go on. This is in their interests. And so what I'm trying to say here is that we've all been under a social engineering program to think that keeping the peace is what makes our lives be okay, what makes America be okay, and what America is supposed to be peaceful throughout the world. And that's simply not true at this juncture, because what Trump is doing and what apparently and supposedly, and what I always thought for these last 10 years is that America First is about taking back America from the globalist elites. And that's what Trump is doing here in Iran. And that is the plan. And there are many secondary steps that come after that, like rogue things done by Israel. Okay. But right now, as everybody keeps saying, and Joe Kent, he's such a victim, poor Joe Kent. All of this is in Tucker Carlson. Oh, this is secondary, and that's a diversion, and it's not even very important. And good luck to them, but it's not the point of what is going on here in the world. What's going on here in the world is that we are meant to take back America from the globalist elites. And Iran is central in it because they are the number one money laundering scheme and cartel Babylon, economy of sin, central run through, like so many other places. But Iran is used as the boogeyman. And so Trump is taking out the boogeyman and saying, hey, to NATO, hey, to China, we don't really need the Straits of Hormuz for America. And it's not 100% true, but he's saying, we don't need to ship the oil through there. We don't need our stuff coming through there. It's really Europe who needs it. It's China who needs it. And it's other countries, okay, Thailand, etc., and India, and all these other countries. And what has Trump been doing since he got in? Tariffs, and saying to them, you're going to get right with us. You're going to get right with America. This isn't your old America with everybody with their suicidal empathy, socially engineered control of the mind, where we just think, just take whatever you want. And, we've been so awful and so evil for so long. No, Trump keeps going after all of the old programs from before, from the deep state, okay, USAID, Lindsey Graham, right, who he always keeps really close by him, but we have a good chance of defeating Lindsey Graham in South Carolina with Mike Lynch. I go to Mike Lynch for Senate. This could really happen to take out Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is tanking in the polls there. I'll get into that in a while. But basically, Trump keeps these people close, okay? And he needs to shut down avenues where there is threats to this larger plan. And it's very interesting because 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, the Q thing and, trust the plan, chessboard, all that. Everybody's always so eager to hear from some random, some unknowable source that is saying, there's a plan, look at this, look at that, look at the other thing. And but now when we're in the thick of it, okay, and we're faced with the fact that yes, we actually have to fight. We have to fight. This was never going to be some magic pill, okay, that was going to change everything. Well, then here we are now, facing the fact that Trump is saying to NATO, you're a paper tiger. If you want the Straits of Hormuz open, you're the ones who need it. The rest of the world, China, etc., then come send your ships and we have an operation plan. Let's get it done. Let's change Iran, and this won't be this boogeyman focal point that is a danger to always, be this choke point and this terrorist proxy to control, and also pay the premium, which is the amount of money that Lloyd's of London, etc., and the City of London was always getting with every ship going through the Straits of Hormuz. So this is what's going on, and I'm going to put on the glasses and get into it. I didn't expect that to be 14 minutes worth of, talking, but I think we need to really understand. Okay, we've got in San Diego, we have the USS Boxer having left, heading for the Straits of Hormuz. We have 2,500 Marines supposedly going to occupy Karg Island. This is the place in Iran where the central shipping of Iranian oil, the processing, etc., happens. This is the focal point, which Trump destroyed all of the control of it, the areas to do with control, and have kept the other parts operational. These are very strategic and targeted operations, just as we see with the targeted operations of the USA. And I'm not talking about Israel. This is a whole other thing. Israel is and remains quite rogue. However, not entirely. And Trump is using Israel. And he said as much. He said, I might be forcing their hand more than they're forcing ours. Doesn't mean that we haven't had to respond to Israel's aggression. It is, I think this is a bit of a judo move, okay, to say, let's do it now, okay, on the part of the USA. And so with the USA, you're seeing the coordinates of the Basij, internal police being hit directly. That the ones that are going after the Iranians who have been protesters, all of this kind of thing, you're seeing them hit directly. You're seeing IRGC leadership being taken out. This is a new kind of warfare, and it's unsettling to all of us because we want it to be like, hey, we're all just go in there, what, like World War II or World War I style, or just like create some trenches and march towards each other. No, that's not what goes on anymore. And while I don't agree with the Israeli style of mass assassinations, I do believe that Trump is using their capabilities to get this done. And so we're going to keep watching as it goes. But basically, as we watch this going on and we see the USS Tripoli out of Japan coming in, we're seeing Japan siding with the USA. This standing back, okay, of Japan is about this situation of allowing the EU and China, et cetera, to make their choice. Are they going to side with what can be a new configuration of how the world does commerce outside of terrorism? That sovereign nations have the right to use these straits, these choke points, the Straits of Malacca. You have the Straits of Turkey. That's another thing that's in play here. That there is this way that Trump is trying to get sovereign nations to say, hey, let's stand up and take this down now. Otherwise, it will always be this war of thievery and extraction. Okay, create terrorism, create conflict, and then there'll be extraction and thievery by Cartel Babylon. Or we can come in, assert our dominance as sovereign nations. That a lot to do with India, Russia, China, the USA, okay, and then going up against the bankster elites that have been controlling things for hundreds of years. And so as we keep watching this, we'll see what's going to happen. But we need to understand that we are the ones who are suffering, okay? This USA not keeping the peace, $37 trillion in debt, okay? As we're watching on the Senate floor, all right, with the Save America Act that they can't pass, okay, because they want illegals to vote. If you've been seeing James O'Keefe and O'Keefe Media Group, their expose on all of the homeless people paid to vote, told to who to vote for, and given money to do so, and names. They've been giving names of voters to use, okay, to actually use the names of actual voters to go and vote under their name, plus to sign all these petitions, et cetera, okay, making money. And when you look at California with Newsom, and what they say, it was like $160,000 per tent or whatever, and that hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into the homeless program in California. That wasn't going to tents, okay? It was going to pay homeless people to vote and steal elections. So what we're seeing on the floor, well, Mike Lee, bigly, hugely, the champion there, and the Senate explaining constitutionally what it means to be a citizen of the United States, to be able to vote, and also voter ID, et cetera, and Eric Schmidt doing great as well, others too. But what we're seeing is now they're going to we're Thune. Oh, the big thing he's doing. He's such a big Senate guy. He is we're not going to take that April recess. Oh, so hard for you. Not going to take that April recess because we must open, DHS must be funded. We got to get those people flying. Those people got to fly on those planes. We need TSA. TSA is really important. We must. The airlines depend on this federal money, right? And that's the whole situation there. But Howsoever, we're getting, of course, the Save America Act being whittled down to a voter ID Act. Okay, that proof of citizenship is getting, because the Dems come out and they say you have to go to your attic and find your passport or your birth certificate. you know, Crazy town, things like that. Okay, like any normal person, an American citizen doesn't know where their birth certificate or their passport is, if they have one. If they don't, go and apply for one. However, the situation is that yes, you have to be an adult. You have to be a corpus mentis person who knows about where those things are or how to go to the Social Security Administration to get your birth certificate. It's very easy, and prove your citizenship. And so these kinds of things, right? That they're depending on the stupidity of the last generation and a half of completely destroyed George W. Bush, whatever, core education, now going off the charts with Randy Weingarten, still now teachers unions, still demanding money to try to destroy the lives of children even more. um, that's what they want. Now it has to be, oh, we're going to just make it a voter ID act. And we know that the voter ID is so nebulous and ridiculous, as all of these Democratic blue states just give voter ID to anybody who wants it. They just give IDs, okay, out of the DMV without proof of anything. And so there's that. So we're battling that. If you want to complain that you'd really like the entire Save America Act, which still doesn't get rid of the machines, which are the main problem in my estimation, because you can have all those things all you want, but if they're still just digging into the machines very easily through the software remotely, then they can change all the votes they want. However, getting the states to give up their voter rolls to be cleaned, and also, of course, the proving you're a citizen needs to happen. And it's so inconvenient. Oh, we're so bummed out. It's so inconvenient. We have to have war with Iran. We it's so inconvenient. Like, we hate seeing Joe Kent so persecuted. We can't stand the fact that people are going to have to go and reapply to be able to vote. What did for me, it's like, well, what did we think? What do we think was going to happen to retake the country? Okay, these are minor inconveniences, and they're not. They should be things that we are like, yes, I'm so happy to go and do this. I'm so happy to show that I'm a citizen. I'm so happy to retake this country. I want to go reapply to vote. I want to show my ID. I want to, fight the machines. I want to get involved with precinct, the precinct. It's not strategy anymore. Precinctprojectusa.org, precinctprojectusa.org. I want to do these things because I want to save America. And instead, there are going to be people that we don't know the full story of, like Joe Kent. What's coming out, people were very upset with me that I, am saying, like, I don't know about Joe Kent. It does look like Tulsi Gabbard, um, as ODNI, did place some leaker traps for him, and that there was a situation that wasn't trustworthy. And you can say, oh, did Joe Kent start leaking for entertainment purposes only entirely because of the Charlie Kirk murder, even though he was saying let's attack Iran even through last fall after the Charlie Kirk murder in his tweets. Um, you know, but suddenly then reverse, and it's all because he quit because Israel is in control of our government. And you know how I am on this channel, that I can't stand Israel's involvement and control of our government. And it's been massive and huge. And everybody's hair on fire. Trump is controlled by the Israelis. I continue to disagree. I do believe that there is a lot going on in conjunction of the American military and obviously the Israeli military right now. Do I think that's the end of it? No, I don't. I think it's a step and a plan. And I'm going to continue to report on it as much as we can. And this is payback time that the Trump administration is trying to do. Okay, that there's no other country that has been planned for demolition that has had first of all, we're the greatest country in the world with the greatest constitution and freedoms in the world. Okay, we've been planned for destruction ever since the revolution, and we've almost never had the full take from the revolution because of the assault immediately by uh, 1607, I believe, was the charter of course, the City of London, and that was the Dutch, the East India Company. How it was then all the wealth brought into the City of London. You had, of course, the Rothschilds getting in there immediately, and what became of the creation of even Teddy Roosevelt, where you had him as cousin to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, basically coming in after McKinley, who was assassinated, right? And McKinley was the king of tariffs, and that the U.S. made all its money through taxing foreign nations who would trade with the U.S. And that's how we made our money. It's how so many the EU, UK, Ireland, all they made their money through these same exact things. Okay, and so the U.S. tries to do it, and you get McKinley assassinated, which is why Trump talks about him all the time. And then you get Teddy Roosevelt, right? And everybody's always like, Teddy Roosevelt, he's so fantastic. No, he had a lot to do with what was then J.P. Morgan, the creature of Jekyll Island. He was a resident of Jekyll Island. It's a summer island where people love to vacation on, at that time, the millionaires or the elites off the coast of Georgia, where they went and summered. And they met to create the Federal Reserve and then to create the income tax. And that was the whole plan, was to take the tax away from the corporations of the billionaire elite, of the Carnegies, the Morgans, et cetera, and to place it onto the people to steal everything from us, right? And so it goes on from there, as we know. But I'm going on about this because this is the time of payback. And so, as we look at all of this going on, we have to remember, in the EU, we have this totalitarianism with a democratic face going on. And Trump calling out NATO and saying, you're a paper tiger. You're the ones who need the Straits of Hormuz open. Why are you hobbling us? What's going on? Why won't you send help so that we can basically overpower what Iran wants to do? It absolutely could happen with a coalition of international countries to say, no, 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 Iran, you're not going to keep doing this. You're not going to keep destroying like the two massive uh, uh, natural gas reserve areas there in Qatar. You're not going to, we have the UAE now supposedly broke down a huge Iranian proxy group there and we're even hearing like it's Boko Haram involved and all of these, Lindsey Graham supported, with John McCain back in the day. And, I'll just say it, back in the day, and the creation and formation of ISIS and the giving of weapons, we get back into maybe Joe Kent territory. But, I'm not going to, whatever. But I'm just saying things aren't necessarily as they seem. And we need to understand that there is a larger situation here that we don't understand fully what's going on. What do we fully understand that's going on? America surviving and thriving again. Until we reshore manufacturing in America, we cannot win, okay, on our own. Okay, we have to battle against the globalist cartel Babylon economy of sin. That's why you have the Shield of the Americas going on in South America. We got Kristi Noem sent down there after she was ousted by the deep state in our government, right? As they're trying to bring in Markwayne Mullins, and we'll see how that goes. It seems to be trucking along. But what we're looking at is the situation of, until we have reshored manufacturing, Trump is going to have to go easy on China for now. Okay, he postponed the the state meeting with Xi, pushing it up into April, basically saying we have to see what's going on with the Iran war, basically testing them. Hey, I'm letting those you're still bringing ships through the Straits of Hormuz, and of course, because Iran says if we pay in yuan, you can bring your ships through, right? And China appears to be winning, but they're not winning. They can't keep winning in that isolated game. And Trump is signaling that and basically saying, "Hey, how about we end this game where we equalize sovereign nations, where we have economies that are interdependent based on sovereign nations and bilateral agreements, and not this globalist playbook and this globalist moonshot to take over and have a massive slavery planet surveillance state, which has been the goal all along by the elites of all these countries, okay, who are intranational, have no national devotion at all whatsoever. Their only devotion is to Satan. I'll just say it. I mean, their only devotion is to a Luciferian, um, uh, destructive, demonic paradigm to destroy humanity and suck all the resources out for who they believe in, which is the devil. And been saying it on this channel forever, so I don't need to go too far on this. But as we look at things like Orban out of Hungary, right? Zelensky last week saying, we're going to assassinate you, Orban. We're going to come just as we do with all these other people. We're going to assassinate Orban. What did he do yesterday? He stood up to the EU, and he's facing election, and they're going to try to steal the election from him. And he is saying he vetoed the $105 billion that Ursula von der Leyen and the EU Commission wants to give to Ukraine. He said, I'm not giving Hungary's okay to that. We're vetoing it. And of course, he's under massive fire. And so pray for Viktor Orban, who has saved Hungary, kicked out Soros, the only country to do so, basically. Okay, still operating freely here in the USA. Alex Soros now in charge, funding everything. Our courts, our judges, our DAs, our system completely decimated, all the lawfare, everything against our government, everything shooting down all of Trump's legislative aims. Alex Soros, right? And he is a Nazi collaborator, his family. And they are also communist collaborators, and they are also City of London agents. And they're all the same because it's all about concentration of power and control into a mix of trillionaire elites. And that's where it goes, and that's how it is a step-by-step situation that the USA, that Trump and his administration is trying to defeat and take away step by step. And Iran is that step. And this is a fantastic thing to be doing. And the IRGC, okay, given carte blanche, especially in the last 5 years under Biden, you had them go on steroids and start stealing everything from the Iranian people, okay, where, Shiite or no, they just stole everything. They just stole the land, the water, ruining the land, salting the earth, just completely destroying centuries of farming, massive drought, stealing it all for their own good, to steal the money to make all, as Hegseth has been saying, all for that their economy is based on the exportation of not just teaism, but the exportation of proxy weapons of war. Okay, using all of those resources that they could steal to create weapons, basically to fund all of these proxy wars, to outfit them. And just like Ukraine and the money that whether it is Blumenthal and Chris Coons and Lindsey Graham hanging out in their apartment in Kiev that we pay for every month to hang out in Ukraine to make sure that tons of money keeps going there with the oligarchs. These are the people who are the problem, okay? And that's who our focus is on. is the elimination of them by elimination of their access to this money created by the oligarchs. And that's what this Iranian operation is about. So I'm kind of just rattling on here at 35 minutes. I thought I'd be getting into more deep stuff, but you know, I kind of just wanted to talk philosophy because, like I said in the beginning, there's not really a generation still alive and able to influence that doesn't come out of the liberalization, the social engineering, the suicidal empathy, the America bad, um, deep, insipid thinking. Okay, that we were trained to believe that America is the evil, all the while not knowing that the puppets in the deep state and the CIA, the OSS created CIA, creating this, as Eisenhower said, this military-industrial complex, those people doing evil, we were meant to believe that therefore America is evil, and it's not. And Trump is trying to reverse it, trying to reshore manufacturing. The $18 trillion in 1 year committed to manufacture here in the US. Yes, do we have AI problems? Yes. Do we have all these things? Yes, we do. But we have to take it one step at a time and try to understand that if we don't have a fighting chance here against the controlled demolition by Cartel Babylon, by the situation of what went down with the attempts by Besson et al. To reverse the economics in the USA, everything that is being happening there, this situation with Iran and how it's being played by Trump is to basically turn things on its heel. Okay, whether it gets into the royals of Europe, it gets in, of course, to the cartel, banking elite, of course, Lloyd's of London, all of it, the control of shipping and the premium that's paid for all of shipping through the Straits of Hormuz, the control and saying what will and won't happen through that straits and with the control of Iran and using this terror threat. It's going to keep unraveling and we're going to keep seeing it. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. It is mostly a rant tonight on this video. And so I will be back on Monday and we will get into hopefully some specifics, but I've really wanted to come up today and get people's minds right. If you find that what I'm saying makes sense, is that we can't get waylaid by infighting in the America First movement. We need to understand that we don't know the full story on whoever is doing this or that, whether it's Joe Kent resigning or Tucker Carlson's take on it or Candace Owens' opinion on it or all of these people. I have respect for every single. I don't know about Joe Kent. I really, honestly, I've never had a great feeling about Joe Kent. I'm just saying, for entertainment purposes only. Truly, just haven't. My vibe, but I do. I notice with so many people, whether it's Mike Adams or Michael Yon, where Trump is about to kill billions of people by cutting off the fertilizer as we're 3 weeks in. Okay, 3 weeks into an important movement to shut down the control of Iran by the city of London, and saying that Trump is committing genocide on the planet. This kind of thing, and people who don't live in this country, like Michael Yon or Catherine Austin Fitts for that matter. I mean, huge respect, but they make visits and tours of the USA, but they don't live here. And I think we have a different vibe. We have a different native pulse that happens in our blood and in our veins when we're actually here on the soil of America, living it every day, and also don't have tons of resources, like Tucker Carlson, for instance. I think it gives you a different perspective to understand the long haul and to understand that we were getting in here for this war to take down globalism and take down the control over the United States, we wouldn't know every step of it. And people who want to jump off the ship and say Trump's, crazy, he's lost his mind, he's a megalomaniac, instead of looking at strategy and looking at what's going on, I think it's I just would say I don't see it that way. I see it that no, this is what we're trying to do, and I believe what the Trump administration is trying to do is the ongoing attempt, no effort, just fight war, and it is a war. The war against globalist elite cartel Babylon is a war. $37 trillion in debt, everything sucked out of you, me, everybody on in this country. Stolen, stolen, stolen. The greatest country making the largest amounts of productivity in the world. Okay, stolen, stolen, stolen. Meant to do so, meant to destruct, meant to destroy, meant to steal. And to understand that's not just giving up. It's not just peace at any cost. No, no, it's not about peace right now. It is about fighting for America. That is the entire point. That's been the whole point all along. And now we have that opportunity. Trump got back in. And now we have to fight for the midterms. That's going to be a whole nother thing. And I'll be getting into that next week because this is where we're at. So, multi-layered, multi-layered. We have to be able to put aside our emotions for our cognitive thinking, and really God helps with that so much in our spirit, our spiritual barometer. Okay, being aligned with God and understanding that uh, peace is what we're aiming for, but it's not where we're at. We haven't been in peace in this country, maybe since its inception. Certainly not for the last 100 years, as we've been under massive assault and massive siege and steal by the City of London and Cartel Babylon. The Bankster elite trained their sites to steal everything from us and re-annex America, or annex America, as I talked about with Mike McKibben on Tuesday in our fantastic interview. So check that out. And Lillian Scott Troy, the incredible, trepidatious journalist out of San Francisco, who uncovered the Pilgrim Society and basically made possible it to know their 24-point blueprint to use espionage, economic warfare, infiltration, social engineering, all of these things to hobble the USA and to get Americans to believe that they are somehow reconnected to the British, that we are allies again, right? We're not. Just look at the Irish. How are they doing? Not doing so good since they joined the EU, are they? No, they're overrun by Islam. They need leaders. They need leaders. Um, and so I'm going to keep on going with our leader here, President Trump, and I'll be back with you on Monday, and we'll keep talking about it. And so I welcome your comments below, and yeah, it's time to think deeply, align with God, listen to what God has to say to you, and also to get your knowledge right, to understand how Lindsey Graham funded Boko Haram with the USAID, okay, and then wants to go ahead and destroy Russia and go ahead and fund fund ISIS in Syria. These people, okay, they are the ones. They are the problem, right? Mike Lynch. I will link Mike Lynch's. Let me see if I can find that right now. But Mike Lynch is going against hugely Lindsey Graham, and he is fantastic. So we do need to support him in South Carolina. These midterms are going to be huge, and we definitely want Lindsey Graham out, and we have a great chance to do so. So I will link that below, and we'll keep going, because as we know, this is the pretty much, I don't know, would we say the only shot? I don't know. I don't think God closes all doors, but I do think that we have this opportunity. We've been given it. One real problem, I think, on the right, or just on people who are awake, is this addiction to media and the inability to get out and take action, to get involved in your precincts, get involved in making change versus emotional responses to this or that person suffering by some whatever. It doesn't mean that I don't think, everything's important, all these details as it goes on, but you do need to keep your eyes on the larger picture and the prize. So I will leave it there at 45 minutes. If you found something that you think is valuable in this video and you want to support the channel, there's ways to do so below. I so appreciate it. Also, please check out my sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. This is the fantastic ESS 60, the purest carbon 60 out there to get into your mitochondria, clean up your cells, help prevent degenerative diseases across the board. We'll just leave it there. It's going to be a short plug tonight, but c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off if you want to get clean energy, focus, better mood, better sleep, just start your day with feeling better and fight inflammation. Check it out. And anybody who ever contributes to the channel gets 15% off, different link and code sent to you. Thanks so much for watching. I so appreciate you. Thanks for supporting. And I'll see you on Monday, TGIF. You are free. Don't forget.